Hey, I hope everyone's doing well. Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be in the world. I thought I'd come at you with a quick little, or spontaneous, should I say, Cobra Kai season tier list. I thought I'd rank all the seasons from my least favorite to what I thought was the best. Um, Before I get into it, I want to um, apologize for my failed attempts to react to the season six part three trailer. Um, I was it was my first time attempting to do a live a live stream, and I had to get ready to go to work. So yeah. Anyway, I know the show has ended 3 months ago, um, but I thought I'd come at you with a little um, season tier list. You'll have to excuse me, I'm a bit camera shy. It's my first time really making a video on YouTube. Um, but I don't think it's the worst way to start. So, um, yeah, Cobra Kai is one of my favorite series, is one of my favorite shows of all time, if not probably my favorite. Um, I really do like the original Karate Kid movies. I thought they were amazing. Um, I think Cobra Kai does it well, where they bring back a classic franchise, and they make it into a sequel, but they do it the right way. Um, you have a lot of sequels nowadays that um, they don't feel as organic as the original, but here Cobra Kai does it right, I think. So anyway, time for me to start ranking all the seasons from my least favorite to my absolute favorite. Now, before I get into this, I want to stress that I don't think that there is such thing as a bad season. There is a really, really great season, and there is a good season, but there's no such thing as a bad season. Um, so, number six, I know some of you might give me flack for this, but at last place, I'm gonna have to put the most recent season of season six. Now, I enjoyed season six. I thought there were some good moments. Um, I could rewatch season six. I just haven't had the. Um, I just really haven't had as strong of an urge to rewatch season six as I did with some of the other seasons. But overall, it was a pretty good season. Um, I don't think it flowed as naturally as the other seasons, and that's one of my biggest gripes of season six. Um, I wasn't really a big fan of the three-way split. At first, I kept an open mind about the three-way split. Um, I thought that Netflix was going to take full advantage of the time that they had between the parts and really market each part, but I don't think it was really a good idea. Plus, they didn't really take advantage of the time that they had to market. Um, yeah, I mean, season six, although it was a decent season, it was also very messy at times, pretty messy. I don't think it flowed very naturally from part to part. There were a lot of like opportunities that were just squandered in the season. Um, I really would have I really would have liked to have seen um, a little bit more of an active role from Chosen. I feel like he was just kind of there to serve as a comedy character. Um, I kind of missed the active role that he played in earlier seasons, like season 5 and season 3. We could have had a scene with him and Tori, or a scene with him and Sam, where he trains them one on one, especially with especially with Tori, because we've seen you know he does share a scene with Tori in season 5, and I thought that that was kind of a nugget that they would use in season 6, but unfortunately it was never paid off. And speaking of Tori, I enjoyed seeing Tori and Miyagi Do. Um, I wouldn't have put her back in Cobra Kai, if I'm being honest. I would have written it in a way where she stays in Miyagi Do, and maybe in part 3, if they were going to have Johnny reclaim Cobra Kai, maybe you could have saved it till then, I feel. Um, and yeah, um, I also wasn't really a big fan of the fact that Robbie um, lost yet another tournament. I honestly thought that third time was going to be a charm for him. I'm a bit disappointed that he never really got his shine. He got a little bit of shine, but his shine was quickly taken away. The only time when he got shine really was when he defeats Quan in towards the end of part 2. But then that's quickly taken away from him when they put Cobra Kai back into the tournament and they kill off Quan, his opponent. Another thing I wouldn't have done. But yeah, overall, part 3 though, I feel part 3 was probably the best part out of season 6. Um, I think part 3 would have been a lot better if parts 1 and 2 were better. Part 3 brings us back to the original movies. It sort of brings us back to season 1. It brings us back to Johnny and Miguel's relationship and their first interactions. And you even have like little subtle nuggets of that when Johnny talks about the Pepto Bismol. Um, I really liked the scenes with Johnny and Daniel, where Daniel trains Johnny to take on Wolf in the Saikai Taikai. I personally wouldn't have ended it with Wolf being the final villain. I would have ended it with Silver being the final villain, given that he's an OG villain. We know Silver very well. And I would have found a better way to kill off Kreese and Silver, even though I agree that it was their time to go. It was Kreese and Silver's time to go. I would have found a better way to do it. Um, Overall, part 3 stuck the landing. I just wish that the way to the ending was executed better. I mean, I can go on and on about the stuff that I think could have gotten better. But I also like to harp on some of the positives as well. Um, yeah, I coming in on second place. In second place, I would say season 4. Season 4 also a pretty good season. I was really excited for season 4 before it came out because the marketing was so amazing, so good. It's just a shame that the marketing just never returned or resurfaced after season 4. But season 4 for me, one of the reasons why it's kind of low for me is because, again, there were some squandered opportunities in that season. Um, as much as I liked Robbie's um, arc in that season, I feel like they could have gone a little further into his dark side without making him into a total, you know, total bad guy. They could have dived in a little bit further into his arc. I really liked the reintroduction of Silver. Silver is one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite villains in television. Um, he's the type of villain I like. Very intelligent and very crazy. Um, I also liked the introduction of Kenny. I liked Robbie and Kenny's dynamic. Um, it's almost like Robbie was to Kenny, um, like how Johnny was to Miguel in a way, like a teacher student dynamic. And yeah, I really like their dynamic in season four. I feel like that was one of the best parts of that season. Wasn't a big fan of Johnny and Daniel bickering. Um, I even though it was necessary, like you can't expect it to be easy for them to just be on the same page 100% of the time because it's the first time that they're coming together and their styles are um, they're a complete polar opposite to one another. And this isn't, and I'm not just talking about the difference between attack and defense, but you know, their philosophies were very different. So you couldn't expect them to be on the same page 100% of the time. Although I do feel like it was taken a little too far. I wouldn't have had um, that mid-season fight take place. I feel like it was a bit unnecessary. It did end on a draw, solidifying that Johnny and Daniel are pretty much evenly matched. Johnny taking the edge in attack, and Daniel taking the edge in defense. But other than that, they are pretty evenly matched. Um, I really like going back to Silver quickly. I really liked how they brought Silver back as a nuanced character, and then slowly, gradually, he became what he was in Karate Kid 3, but a lot worse. Um, just seeing him go completely nuts on Stingray, nearly killing the guy, and then framing his best friend for it was absolutely nuts. Um, and even though I kept an open mind of Eli slash Hawk winning the tournament, looking back at it now, if you were going to have Miguel win the Saikai Taikai, you should have had Robbie win the Season 4 tournament. Or you can have Eli win the Season 4 tournament and then have Robbie win the Saikai Taikai in some way, shape, or form. Or Robbie and Miguel both winning the Saikai Taikai. But, you know, it is what it is. Um, yeah. Anyway, next I'll move on to season two. Season two was a nice. It was a nice season. It's fairly underrated because it's one of the earliest seasons and it's not as action packed as a lot of the later seasons. But nevertheless, season two was a really good season. Season two had the iconic school fight, very brutal fight. Um, it ends with, you know, Miguel hanging on a thread quite literally. You know, even though we know he's going to live, he's the main character. Um, it just makes you wonder, is he going to pull through? And fortunately, he does. Um, I liked the reintroduction of Kreese. They brought Kreese back right at the end of season one, and then they sort of um, they sort of um, filtered that into the second season. Um, I really liked Tori's introduction. Tori bringing him introduced as a new character, um, and just as a pretty interesting character, yet one-dimensional. Um, Not a lot of layers to her character yet. I liked her rivalry with Sam. Um, I wasn't really a big fan of the relationships in that season. I prefer Robbie and Tori together and Sam and Miguel together versus the other way around, where they had Robbie and Sam together and Tori and Miguel together. The relationships were not bad, but they were definitely very much early series. Um, they're definitely not end game material. Those relationships. Um, yeah. Um, you obviously have Johnny learning from his mistakes. You have him really learning from what he was taught. You have a little bit of a civil war. You have a little bit of a Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai war in season two between Johnny and Daniel. But you also have a little bit of a civil war going on within Cobra Kai between Johnny and Kreese. And of course, you have the students that are more loyal to Johnny, like Miguel, and the other students that are more loyal to Kreese, like Hawk at the time, and Tori. And my God, Hawk was quite the thug in that season. Like him turning on his best friend, absolutely crazy. He became the thing that he feared the most, which was a bully, um, and and worse, more like a thug. Um, yeah. And then season two, of course, ends in this really unpredictable cliffhanger, this really precarious cliffhanger with Miguel being paralyzed, booted over a railing. Now, I want to stress the fact that um, I don't excuse Robbie for what he did, though I do understand it was an accident. I understand that he didn't intend to send Miguel over the railing. He just wanted to kick him simply, but he should have definitely controlled his impulses a little bit more. Um, that I do agree with a lot of fans. I understand that a lot of fans grew some type of resentment towards Robbie for doing that. Um, but you know, um, there's no excuse for it. But it was an accident in the end of the day. And if you rewatch that fight, Miguel does kick Robbie towards that same railing, and Robbie could have very easily gone over as well. But of course, the plot didn't go in that direction. So yeah. Anyway, enough said about season two. Um, Next on the list, I would say now this. I used to think that season five was my absolute favorite. I used to like when season five came out, the recency bias was talking. I I used to put season five on a very high pedestal, and I still like season five, but I wouldn't say it's as good as seasons one or season three. But it is nevertheless. I mean, it's better in a way that it's more action packed, and Silver's in it. And of course, I really do like Silver as a villain. Um, Season five had some really good quality story, even though some of the decisions and some of the pacing, I feel some of the pacing could have been handled a little better. They could have taken a little bit of time. with a few things. Of course, in Cobra Kai, the biggest threat you had was Kenny. Um, he was the most well, Tori as well, but I mean, she wasn't really a threat at the time. She was quite a nuanced character, but you know, Kenny really adopted the whole no mercy philosophy, just being manipulated and brainwashed and descending into darkness. Um, and yeah, I really liked. I really liked all the main characters' arc. I really liked Miguel's arc in that season. I like Robbie's arc in that season. I very much like Daniel's arc in that season. I thought season five was his best season. It reminded us who the Karate Kid was, essentially. And season five just had a lot of that original Karate Kid franchise vibe in it, with Daniel getting a lot of spotlight and, you know, just seeing him at his lowest point, um, even prior to him fighting Silver. Um, Silver really gets into his head. Um, Silver does a lot of like despicable things, like burns down Barnes's furniture store, and then um, manages to get Amanda on his side. Um, but then, yeah, and then a very brutal fight between Daniel and Silver takes place. Silver beats him down, and Daniel, he's all beaten and bloody and consoled by his wife Amanda. He's consoled by all of his students and his kids, Sam and Anthony, and his two um, his two partners, Johnny and Chosen, and yeah, I also liked Kenny's going back to Kenny a little bit. I really like Kenny's descent into darkness, though him not being as experienced as all of the main fighters in Miyagi-Do, there was a little bit of a problem there, but nevertheless, um, I kind of enjoyed seeing Kenny as a little villain, as a little anti-hero slash villain. Um, it was a kind of a breath of fresh air. Um, yeah, and then seeing Robbie, like Robbie is trying to, he's trying to get his apprentice to see the light. He's trying to get him out of Cobra Kai. He's trying to get his girlfriend out of Cobra Kai. Even though Tori isn't brainwashed at that point by Cobra Kai, she still feels like she's stuck because you know because she's afraid of Silver. Um, Silver um, manipulates her at the start of the season, making her feel kind of stuck. And then it takes it takes Sam to to reach out to her, and Sam realizes that Tori doesn't have it easy. I'm pretty sure she even knew that earlier on. It's just that Sam, of course, was so blinded by the fact that she was victimized by Tori in earlier seasons. Um, but she came to realize that Tori was indeed a struggling, you know, a struggling individual who who needed help, and you know, they all teamed up together to take down Silver, to get Tori out of Cobra Kai, um, to get Kenny out of Cobra Kai, and to get all the all the other Cobra Kai students out of Cobra Kai, and Silver in police custody. And they kind of undo that by throwing Tori back into Cobra Kai in the following season, which I covered a little bit. But yeah, overall, pretty good season. Next on the list, I'm going to um, rank season one as second best. Season one is one of the best seasons. I feel it is the very first season. Needless to say, um, it's a very classic season. Very simple. There really isn't much of a threat going on. It's a very simplistic season. Very humorous. I really liked Johnny's reintroduction. I liked John, seeing Johnny roles. And one thing I want to mention is a lot of people might say, oh, all it took was one kick for Johnny to struggle in life. Nah, nah. Sure, I mean he lost in the movies, but I think it was more than that. He had a father figure increase, but also a very abusive, emotionally and physically abusive father figure increase, which did send him down the wrong path, and they sort of clear that up in part three of season six when Johnny says he trusted no one. But yeah, seeing how Johnny's character arc started off was just amazing to see. Seeing his struggles, seeing him gradually grow to becoming a better person. Um, his struggles, his estranged relationship with his son was interesting, and then he finds pretty much a second chance in Miguel to become this good father figure, and then many seasons later, he of course connects with Robbie and balances his attentiveness to both of his sons. But yeah, it's really good to see him finding like a surrogate son, so to speak, in Miguel. And even though he does bring back the no mercy philosophy originally, because that's all he knew at the time, and then seeing how it's affected Miguel in a negative way, and Hawk in particular in a negative way, and then he sort of reels it back in season two. Um, was kind of interesting, I will say. Now, I'm just spitballing ideas off the dome. This isn't really, I'm not naming, I'm not, I'm not, really, my thoughts are not organized in any way. I'm just spitballing different key points. So forgive me if I do actually miss a few. I'm probably going to end up missing many. Um, yeah. Miguel is introduced as a Daniel type character, as a bullied kid, and then he turns to Johnny. Johnny takes him in as a student. He learns how to defend himself, and and then later characters like Eli slash Hawk follow suit. Aisha follows suit. Dimitri follows suit, but then he then gravitates towards Miyagi-Do in the second season. So yeah, um, very interesting season, very nostalgic and organic season. Now, in first place, season three. Season three is as close to perfect as you'll get. Season three has really set the bar for me, and there's always going to be a special place Season three is always going to have a special place, or excuse me, I'm always going to have. Man, I'm so camera shy. I can't even get my words in order. There's always going to be a special place in my heart for season three. Season three came out during a time where everybody was, at a difficult period. Came out during COVID of all times. And season three was a dark season. It was a scary, dark season. So it couldn't have come out at a better time. I really liked the aftermath of the school fight. I really liked Miguel's journey to recovery. I also really liked Robbie's arc and his time in the Slammer. Very highly underrated arc. One of my favorite arcs, I think, in the whole of Cobra Kai. Um, it's really interesting seeing him just descend into darkness as he's in juvie. Um, of course, he views Daniel as a rat because Daniel turned him into the cops, and then he later realizes that Daniel actually did him a favor and gave him a more relaxed sentence. Seeing Johnny continuing to struggle to balance his attentiveness towards his sons. Um, Robbie continues to get neglected by his father, which drives him even further to darkness, drives him to join Kreese um, after he gets out of juvie. I really liked the scenes with Sam sort of taking over Miyagi-Do when her father isn't around. Her father's in Okinawa. Um, and seeing Sam like grow into her own, I thought was really amazing. She faces her fears of Tori and just of the whole situation. Um, just seeing Sam grow into her own was absolutely amazing. And I don't think Sam deserves the hate that she gets. Let's be real. I don't think she deserves anywhere near the hate that she gets. Um, of course, she's not a perfect character, and she is a very flawed character, but I think overall she is a pretty decent, pretty solid character. And season three, I feel, was her favorite, her her best season. Just seeing her overcome her fear of Tori, and just some really little scenes with Daniel inviting her to that um, sports hall where he tells her about Barnes. He even gives her a little fishing slash karate lesson, which I thought was amazing. You have the iconic school, sorry, not the school fight, the iconic house fight where Miguel he's he's on the road to recovery. He fights his old bully Kyler, and he's not fully back into full strength, but he's definitely on his way there. And again, that's the scene where Sam fights Tori again, comes into her own. Um, Seeing Hawk as a thug, as a really nasty thug, in that season was amazing. He was already a very passive aggressive character in season one. Seasons two and three, he became an absolute thug, an absolute threat, and he really turns on his best friend. He even goes as far as breaking his arm. And you see Hawk getting worse and worse and worse before he gets better. And you see these little moments of regret and conflict. Of course, Kreese throwing out his old friends from the dojo. He's not a big fan of that. And then it comes full circle when his old bully Kyler joins Cobra Kai, and Robbie, who at the time he never liked, joins Cobra Kai. And then, yeah, just seeing his best friend Dimitri about to get his arm broke again. He comes in clutch and he saves his friend, and he has a nice little redemption. Um, you honestly wonder, is he going to continue to get worse, or is he going to redeem at the end of the season? and I really really like what they did with Hawk in this season. I just wish that they continued to. Um, I just wish that they continued to write his character really well in the following seasons. They wrote his character somewhat well in season 4, but they kind of he kind of became a side character from that moment on, and I wasn't really a big fan of his arc post his redemption. I mean, I didn't dislike it, but I feel like they could have, you know, they could have gone even further. Um, yeah, and then you had, of course, Johnny and Daniel coming together. I really, really, really liked Johnny fighting Kreese, and then Daniel fighting Kreese. Kreese was like the big bad in season 3. He was like a proper baddie in this season. Um, it just didn't feel the same anymore in season 6. You know, they obviously wanted to redeem him in some way, but they had to put his redemption on pause to fill in that void because Silver wasn't present. But in season 3, I really liked his villain arc, and even though he's not, even though as a fighter, Johnny and Daniel are clearly now more skilled. They're younger too, so they have more in the tank than he does. He's obviously older, so he's not gonna have as much strength or speed in his fighting ability. But nevertheless, he was a very good villain in this final season. Sorry, in this season, in season 3. Um, yeah, and I just really liked how they ended season 3 with Johnny and Daniel coming together. They played a nice little Phil Collins cover, "Aaron the Night," which was really cool. Made a Yeah, that was really nice, and the music was also really really lovely in that season. So there we go. This is my personal ranking of all the seasons in Cobra Kai. Again, I do apologize for my failed attempt to react to the trailer of part 3 of season 6. I was, I am literally new to making live streams. I was just trying to learn as I went, and I had to go to work, so I really had no time to fiddle around and play around. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment below, leave a like, subscribe if you like, and yeah, maybe I'll make another video on Cobra Kai or something else, or something to do with my occupation in music, in piano. So anyway, um, have a good day, everyone.